Hello everybody, we are coming to you from Charles Umlauf's studio with a very special Facebook Live featuring none other than Mr. Graeme Durant. And today we want to tell you about the lost wax casting method in great detail. Lots of people come to the museum and have all kinds of questions about it. We have pictures, diagrams. Every year we do a lost wax casting demonstration with hot bronze pour, but right now we're going to take you on a walkthrough. Hello, Graeme,
Hi.
Curatorial Assistant. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Do you want to do a quick spin, show where we are?
What a great idea.
So we're actually in Charles's studio, which is situated on the hill above Zilka Park in Barton Springs. Really beautiful light, north-facing windows. Sculptor's dream, or many artists' dream, having that light. But yeah, we're going to talk about the lost wax casting process and talk about how Charles would have made his work. So we're going to pull into the little display we have, and first off, Charles would have made clay sculptures. He would have sculpted either models or animals, and we have many different versions to look at. This is the one I made. It's just a kind of a mock-up, a replica of the bird, the Uccelli dove. But that's the first step in the process. So common materials that would be used would be water or oil-based clay, or like an air-dry clay, which is what I've used here. Some people would work directly in wax, but it's very difficult to sculpt in wax, so not a lot of people did that. But if we pan to the left, I want to talk about the armature. So a lot of sculptures have many sort of arms or legs or parts, and they're very hard to support their own weight. So if we pan even further to the left to this sculpture in the crate, you can see the torchbearer has these legs and arms, and to support all of this weight, there's an armature inside. So that's what I've replicated with my wife's coat hangers. This is the bird. These are just stuff I've kind of displayed, but Charles would commonly use these boards with the common like 3/4 pipe fittings, and he would have these. They're all dotted around his studio. They're all ready to sculpt on, and he would just grab one and just start going with clay. So that's so you get to that point, and as you can tell, my bird is pretty unfinished. It's still has many ways to go. I'm not sure we can get through to the other studio, but the final stage is to get the clay prepared for molding, and this is the best time to adjust and to do any final detail. And what's really cool is we have a pot. If we come to the green bin, this is filled with still wet, like I think it's and this was stuff Charles left, but it's like plasticine that he would touch up and add little tiny details, or
and some of these you can see have actually been already shaped. That is a little human figure. Look at that, tossed into the rubbish bin because he probably made another one, and they're still wet. Ha!
Which is really cool. We're tangled. So once the clay is ready, we go to preparing it for the mold. I'm gonna grab some of these, and I don't know what the correct name is for these, but they use these for separating sections of a sculpture. So if you look at this mold, there's like a general seam that runs halfway, so it's a 2-part mold. And if we cut back to this plaster version, which is traditionally how they would have done it, they would have made plaster molds instead of fiberglass. They would cut the pieces into sections. So if you can see here, they're doing like the underside and the front. So it'd be in many different pieces of mold. And these pieces, these brass pieces, can be used to push into the clay to gate a section of the mold. So they would sculpt around, and they're just little tiny bits of brass, and they shape very easy, and they create a barrier so you can have a double-sided mold, which would in theory act as this gap here. So you follow the seam.
So Graeme wonderfully made this and something else we're about to show you that's going to blow your mind. This mold was probably made by Casson's Castings, a local group, the same people who did the star at the Bob Bullock Museum, also worked with Charles Umlauf. They also did the replica statue that's on top of the Texas Capitol. They recreated that. So this is a mold, and you can tell what it is. And Graeme, tell us a little more about it.
This is a silicon mold of the Uccelli bird, the dove, that is currently on display in our 30 by 30 by 30 exhibition. We want to thank Bill Mitchell for loaning us the piece. We'll see it just in a second. But this is a silicon mold taken directly from the clay original that Charles would have made. So sadly, when you make the clay original and it's cast, it's very rare that you can keep it, because these are so complex and all of the pieces have to be like picked out and dug out, so you kind of lose a lot of the original clay. So we don't have that many clays, but we do have the plaster ones because they're a bit more robust. So yeah, this would back in the day would have been made from gelatin or just a releasing agent, and it would have been like a solid plaster mold that they could then cast a wax version from. So yeah, we're going to go across to the wax version.
Ready for the big reveal? And here is the person who made this.
So I used this mold to cast this bird, and I didn't have the correct wax on hand, but so I used candles and kind of stuff that I had, so that's why there's a bit of color differentiation. So yeah, I cast this at home just to show you the process. This is a really great mold to use, very small, and so the idea is that you would pour the wax and rotate the mold to coat every surface, and you want to have a layer of wax that's approximately 1/4 of an inch thick, give or take, depending on the size of the thing. So I turn it over and you can actually see that it's hollow inside, so I kind of rotated the mold to get all the areas coated, poured it out, and it was like many steps.
How many times did you have to try before it worked?
The first time I tried, it didn't work. So as you can tell, there'll be a lot of air bubbles because it's cast upside down. These pieces here didn't cast, and the air bubbles got trapped, so it's very hard to rotate it and get the wax to. So yeah, so that's the wax mold. And going back to the brass pieces, these would leave a seam on the piece, and you can see on the bird, if you zoom in pretty close, there's a seam running down.
Check it out.
So this is the stage where, similar to finishing the clay piece, you would then want to finish the wax piece. So you could scrape this back with tools or hot irons, and then you could add any detail on, such as like a signature on the bottom. You see that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, signature and these little feather marks. They would have maybe been highlighted more after it's cast. So from the wax version, you then need to think about how you're going to cast it. So it's cast using a ceramic shell, which we don't have many photographs of that, and it's very difficult to do in the studio. Yeah, there's
Want me to show that?
I don't think that. Yeah, they're taking the like a wax.
We have a lot of educational tools for you here to see. Graeme has set up a slide projector with some slides from Italy here in the studio, but we're going to do part 2 in 2 weeks. So tell us about.
But yeah, if you can see this one. So this is Charles in Italy, and this is him here in the back, which is really cool. And every person has a job. They have a specific skill or a specific thing that they're good at. Some people are trained to carve the clay, or some people are very good at mold making. So this gentleman at the front is very good at making the mud jacket of the mold, which is a jacket. People are like passing, which is very cool. So one of the processes after the wax are all these like weird like exoskeleton network. these are all pieces of wax that you think about pouring bronze into a sculpture. You want to make sure every piece of the sculpture is being fed that material. So you want to make sure the bronze reaches parts that are difficult to reach. This enough material, and yeah, there would be gas would want to escape as well, so you have to off vent and add little whistlers and vents on, which is pretty cool. And then after this process, the whole thing is coated in a ceramic shell, ready for the bronze. And the ceramic shell is let me just get to that. Get my terminology correct. So the ceramic shell is it's a mix of plaster and refractory material, and it's not too dissimilar from the stuff that they were making these molds from. But they would then fire this mold. All of the wax would drip out, leaving empty spaces and voids. Thus, the lost wax technique, and this is where the wax is lost, leaves a negative void to be filled with bronze.
Very nicely put.
And then that takes us to the final Bill Mitchell piece, the Uccelli Dove, and this would be the final piece. So they would pour, while the mold was warm still from melting the wax out, they would then immediately go and take it to a bin where they would prop it up in sand or tie it off with wire so it didn't fall, and they would pour bronze directly into the hot mold.
Let's put the two side by side, because I'm so impressed that you did this.
It's probably easier to move the bronze one.
Sorry.
Excuse
But we do have a couple viewers. Thank you all for watching. It's really cool. Look at that. So the one on the right is the actual Umlauf. Graeme did not make that one, but it was probably made 20, 30, more than 30 years ago. And the one on the left is the wax model that Graeme made.
So, the little fact sheet: bronze has to be approximately 2,250 degrees Fahrenheit to liquidize and pour into the mold. So it's pretty hot. That's pretty hot.
So Umlauf didn't have a lost wax casting foundry here at the studio. It would have just been untenable. So he used former students. As many of you know, he went to Italy, which is where these wonderful photographs were taken. He was in Milan and in Pietrasanta. But what he would do here in the studio is get everything ready for the next step. For example, the torchbearer Prometheus figure that Graeme showed us is a plaster preparatory work that he would then turn into a more detailed clay. Graeme, you are amazing. Thank you for taking us through the process. Anything else you want to add?
No, the final thing is you break it out the mold, you have your finished item, you clean it up, you fettle it, you chase the metal, you get it nice and smooth, because sometimes it will come out rough, and then you choose a patina, and there are so many out there. Patinas are, it's a chemical, what is it? Lost my sheet.
We actually, hi. We have a lot of patinas on view in the 30 by 30 show.
Yeah.
And so come see it. We've got electroplated bronze. We've got all kinds of greens, some even a black one. Graeme, thank you. This is incredible. Awesome. And stay tuned, because we're going to do more on this 2 weeks from now. Stay tuned for Facebook Live. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.